Did you end up finally watching that movie you were watching the other night?
Noelle, I did.
Yeah.
And we're going to hear a little bit more about it today.
Are you kidding me?
Yes. No, I'm not kidding you. I'm serious.
You're telling me that thing made your list?
Yes. And I knew it would.
Came out.
I knew it would.
There's such a history of Christmas movies. You're telling me that somehow Disney Plus's Noelle made it anywhere on your list?
What can I say? Disney knows you, girl.
That's mad annoying. But I guess it is what it is. Well, shoot.
Well, let's get this started.
I'm Josiah Rizzo.
I'm Benji Jones.
And on Wednesdays, we wear pink.
Welcome back to the Pink Popcast, a pop culture podcast where we talk about film and media
and everything else.
and the impact that it's leaving or has left on our generation.
Today, we are counting down our top favorite Christmas movies. What do you think? Probably
No, we know what we think. I was going to say top 8, but you were like, no, that sounds weird. We can't say top 8.
It's weird. Why did somebody make a list of 8? You need
because here's
either
the thing.
make a list of 5 or 10.
Well, we
Don't
tried
do
to
8.
make. I was trying to make a list of 5. By the way, I'm not anti-Christmas, but I did not think
as not pro-Christmas movie as you are, because you're not anti-Christmas.
No, I love
and you're not anti-Christmas movie, but you're not necessarily pro-Christmas movie.
I just didn't realize it would be that difficult to narrow down to 5, top 5 Christmas movies.
It's funny because I was surprised at how many Christmas movies I don't actually love.
Right.
I thought I was gonna be I have a list of 20 or 30 that I was gonna have to narrow down, and I got a list of 15 with just
Really?
things of oh yeah, I do like that movie.
Well, that was the thing. So when I decided, when I was writing down my notes for this episode, I realized that the only way I was going to be able to start dwindling it down to 5.
Dwindling it down, yeah.
Dwindling?
Dwindling, yeah. With a D.
It's to dwindle it down.
Dwindle it down, yeah. You said dwindling.
I am saying dwindle. It's dwindle it down.
No, it's not.
Is it not?
No.
Is it not dwindling it down? Why are you still laughing? What is that?
Who is Wendell?
Who's dwindle it?
I don't know. That's just what you do. Wait, now we have to Google it because now I'm not even sure.
You know what? We'll just move on and pretend I'm right. So when you're
no, we're not going to pretend you're right. I'm definitely right.
When you are the only way I knew I'd be able to choose my top 5 is by having a criteria that the criteria I would meet is not just, oh, it's a Christmas movie, so it's on my list. It had to be, what's a Christmas movie that, in keeping with the theme of our TV, our TV
podcast
show,
our TV podcast show,
our podcast, in keeping up with the theme, it would have to be Christmas films that I share a personal connection with, or ones that I legitimately have to watch each year. These
True.
aren't just
Okay.
I like them. These are ones for me, I do not find a Christmas missing these films.
Okay.
And maybe the last the 2 at the top are every other year, but as we get down, it's I have not missed a Christmas watching these. They are ones that I have to watch with my family, so they're not just favorites because oh, I like them. They're favorites because our family shares a connection with them.
Okay. No, perfect. Then my list makes more sense now.
Mm-hmm.
In that case, because at first you were saying it needs to have a cultural impact, and I was well, they have
No,
an impact with me.
I meant impact, personal impact. Because
Okay.
I mean that's that's what our podcast is about, right? How culture
things are
affects
affecting
us.
us. Yeah.
And for me, you guys don't know my family. We love Christmas movies. My sister's not the biggest fan of Christmas films or just being forced to do things in general.
Mm-hmm.
So the criteria I noticed was that these would have to be films that somehow, miraculously even, would bring our family together.
Okay, so I'm gonna start.
Okay, you're gonna start.
My first / last.
So number
My
8.
number 8 is Home Alone 3.
Really?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's a pleasant surprise.
I know. I love that movie, and it's funny because when it first came out, obviously I didn't like it because it was a different kid.
Right.
But I mean, I grew up with it because I was still really little when it came out. And obviously it's like a fun movie. It's super original. And then I think I didn't even realize that how much I actually liked it until Home Alone 4 came out.
Oh no, that's
Which is a
trash.
complete garbage movie, completely different cast, completely different storyline,
Wasn't
completely
even-
different everything. But it was supposed to be the same characters. So from the original Home Alone series, so it's supposed to be Kevin McAllister and like everybody else, except his parents got divorced. His dad married a new wife, and like he's spending Christmas with them. He doesn't like the new wife. It's like a whole thing, and then the robbers try to rob them, and it's like really, really, really dumb and terribly acted. And I just like I saw it way too many times because my little brother was little and he loved it, and he watched it over and over again.
Your brother's kind of the worst.
He's kind of the worst. I would say
From what I've
just
heard,
like
he's
younger siblings. That's what happens. Every time I watched that, like I was just like, gosh, like at least Home Alone 3 had the decency to not muddy up the original story by
Right.
trying to add on to it. They were like, you know what? We don't have that kid. We're gonna make our own story that is Home Alone. But I always thought, if it was the second one, though, it was the third one, so it didn't really matter. But if it was the second one that they did with another kid, it would have been funny if they called it Home Alone 2, TOO. Because he's
That'd have
also
been
Home
clever.
Alone. Yeah.
No, I really like Home Alone 3.
How do you?
I always kind of defend it. It didn't make my list, but I
Mhm.
always defend it when people say, "Oh, it wasn't good." I'm like, "It was good. It was
Yeah.
its own thing. I grew up with it. I liked it."
hmm
You know who was in that movie?
Yeah. And I hated her for the longest time. Like, literally, up until she was Black Widow, I've always hated Scarlett Johansson because I thought she was a bitch.
Because of that character?
Because the sister was a bitch. Like, she
And
was the worst.
a beautiful bitch.
Well, I wasn't
Oh.
impressed.
All right. Well, that's enough of that. That's your number 8 is Home Alone 3.
Home Alone 13.
Okay, Lost in Chicago. It has no.
I was like, is that what it's called?
It's not, it has no subtitle. Okay, my number 8 is The Santa Claus, 1994, starring Tim Allen.
That low?
That low?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah,
Bro, that's a classic.
I love it.
You love it?
I
Are you
do.
sure?
I-
Because it's 8.
Look, my criteria was what are films that I absolutely have to watch. Like, it's not just like ones that I say I love. It's like let's put the money where the mouth is. Like, what are films that we sit down and always recommend?
Uh-huh.
So the top one on our list is one that our family literally cannot go a single year without watching.
Literally.
So everything else follows behind on that. And number 8 is The Santa Claus, which I love.
Mhm.
And we were talking about this yesterday. One of the reasons I really like The Santa Claus, in contrast with all those other annoying Christmas movies that I
Uh-huh.
mentioned, what I like about The Santa Claus is it has the typical, like that typical elf northern town, you know,
Yeah.
the
Mhm.
annoying town that looks like it's the same in every Christmas movie.
Right.
And the elves are all dressed in their normal cheery self, and it's just annoying.
To you.
But
Yes.
to me. But what's funny is that they were like, we're going to give you what you think you know about Christmas, but we're going to switch it up just a little bit. We're going to have Bernard be this just angry Jewish elf for no reason. He's just being angry and ornery. And it's just like, oh, that's a little disconcerting. Why is he angry? And then the little Judy character, she's like, I'm seeing someone in accounting or rapping.
Rapping.
And rapping. And you're just like,
I'm seeing someone in rapping.
it's just little things like that I like when films, they either go completely different or they take what you think you know and they kind of switch it up. And it made it really endearing. Plus, it was really funny. And I think the sequels, outside of just suffering from being too childish, suffer from an issue where you have kind of like the Grinch from The Grinch or Cusco from Emperor's New
Emperor's New
Groove.
Groove, yeah.
When you have a character that is so selfish and so annoying
Mhm.
and so into them, into themselves, and that's where the humor comes from.
Yeah.
And then they learn their lesson and they change. Great. But then you make a sequel off of them. It's like, okay, they're not funny anymore.
Mm-hmm. No,
So-
true. Yeah. They lost that original charm.
They had fun with expectations in the first one, and the second one just gives you exactly what you think. But there are charming things in the second one.
Of course. Yeah.
Even though it's not on my list, my family loves the scene, the white elephant scene, when he blesses all, or the Secret Santa scene, when he like blesses all the. I say blesses like he's Jesus.
Jesus.
But he gifts all the teachers during the Secret Santa with their favorite childhood games.
Oh yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Best part, like that almost elevates the sequel onto my list, but
But it don't.
it don't. So that's number 8, The Santa Claus, starring Tim Allen, Judge Reinhold, and David Crumps. And I think my favorite, and we'll move on from here, is when he like turns to Neil's like, I think we have bigger problems to worry about, like where are you gonna get your clothes once the circus rolls out of town?
Oh my gosh.
Oh, I love him. Okay.
All right, number 7 for
7.
me. This is actually one that I have to watch every year. Rudolph, 1950s.
Oh, the stop motion. Yeah.
Rudolph.
They're good.
Love.
They're good.
It's good. It's a very classic, nostalgic movie for me that I have to watch every year because I love it.
There's nothing more you can say about that.
It's nothing more to say.
I feel bad because I
mean,
like, my list definitely, like,
you've
looking
got
back on it, it's gonna be like, really? Those
Yeah.
are your choices? Not to be
Ooh.
controversial, it's just
oh yeah, I'm interested to see what yours are because I feel like mine are going to be very like, oh yeah, Christmas movie. Good.
I didn't grow up with the stop motion.
Rudolph
Yeah.
or any of them. I grew up with the stop motion Rudolph. I've seen the other ones, but the Rudolph one, I don't know. I've just always loved Rudolph's story in general. I love that his story is told in a song every year. I love music, and then they made a whole movie out of it. I don't know which one came first, the chicken or the egg, but
definitely the.
well, yeah, it would have been the movie because that's where the song is from. But yeah, love a good underdog story. Love a good rags to riches. And one thing, that should have been on the pet peeves episode. I hate when people do in any movie, any Christmas movie, nobody ever adds Rudolph, and I'm like, that is so rude.
But it's like that takes a whole.
It takes a whole nothing. Like, literally, you do the sleigh with 8 reindeer, and then you put one ahead and call him Rudolph. Like, he worked really hard for that spot, and everybody just likes to forget about him, all the movie producers. Like, have you ever seen a Christmas movie where they have Rudolph in it that's not Rudolph?
No. All right, that was.
I have to watch it every year.
Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, the 1964 stop-motion animated film. All right, my number 7. We watched this the other night. I love it. I'll Be Home for Christmas.
Yeah.
1998, starring Jonathan Taylor Thomas and Jessica Biel.
That is a fun one.
That movie came to us completely by accident. Somehow my mom, I think this was back in the day, we were at Walmart when I was a kid. She was in the bargain bin and saw the film. I think she thought it was something else, reached in, and this, by the way, is telling of what time of year or what year it was. When she brought it to the front, she'd already committed to buying it, but when they told her, like, oh, this isn't a bargain movie, it's actually $20 for a VHS.
Ooh,
it was a $20 VHS. My mom went, well, all right. And, like, in a huff brought it. And I remember she brought it home.
I was put it back.
I didn't hear anything. I had not heard a thing about this. And so we're like, all right, well, let's watch it. And it's funny. For those of you who have not seen I'll Be Home for Christmas, Jonathan Taylor Thomas stars as Jake. He's this annoying college kid who won't go back home because his dad remarried after his mom passed away, like less than a year after. He's super into himself. He's kind of a entrepreneur, like a modern day entrepreneur, which is like all pizzazz and no substance. And his dad gets him tickets to come back home, but he cashes them in for 2 tickets to Cabo San Lucas to take his might-be girlfriend Jessica Biel there,
who is like 10 years older than him. Clearly,
she looks 10 years older than him, and she's clearly like, no, I'm going back home for Christmas. He's like, why would you do that? Families suck. He doesn't say that, but essentially what he's saying. And then his dad, which is Gary Cole, goes, will you come back home if I give you our Porsche? And then it becomes this whole thing of shenanigans where the bullies of the college, even though it looks like a high school, watch I'll Be Home for Christmas and tell me that's not a high school they shot in. But it's supposed to be college, you know, with locker room.
With lockers on the wall.
Lockers on the wall. And something happens where the bullies that he is helping cheat for their exam or something.
Yeah, they're like midterms.
Their midterms or whatever. The bully hijacks. It's a whole thing where
they get caught and then they get mad at him.
They get caught cheating and then they get mad at Jake and then they strand him in the desert instead of driving back home with his would-be girlfriend. And so then he's like stuck in a Santa suit and a beard that they glued to his face, and he has to trek all the way from California to New York. Apparently it wasn't actually made for TV. I said that last week that it's not. So that's how bad the acting is.
I don't think the acting was bad. I think it was just an older movie.
No, okay. There's certain choices that they make where I'm like, ooh, was this an ABC Family original?
I
Like,
think the acting outside of the main cast was like, oof.
there is
Like that one guy in the van that you love.
I
think
love him.
I don't think he was a great actor.
Oh, he's the best.
Because I was like, I don't think he's a great actor because I couldn't tell if he was making a choice to be weird and quirky or if he was actually trying to be funny and it was just coming off weird.
Well,
So-
he definitely
and
was.
I think that's what it was.
He was Nolan, which was the guy who had stolen goods. Picks him up and he's like, he like hits him on the road, and Jonathan Taylor Thomas is like, "Am I alive?" He's like, "I have never been more happy to answer that question in my life. Yes, you are alive."
They were like, were you, have you answered that question before? And they weren't alive?
There's so many lines in that that I quote. I remember when I was a kid, I would quote, "Hey, Jingle Balls, move your candy canes," and my dad was like, "Don't."
don't
say
say
that.
that, little kid.
So
But you were very impressionable as a child.
I was
so.
very impressionable. But anyway, I always loved that because it started from a "what the hell is this" to a "I guess we're now watching this every year."
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
family classic. I'll Be Home for Christmas, 1988. Jonathan Taylor Thomas, JTT.
JTT.
All right,
Gorgeous. My next one,
number 6.
movie that I love, Unaccompanied Minors. I love that movie. I think
What's the song? How's the song go? Unaccompanied minors stuck in the airport. They did a rap to it. You don't remember that? I
who
remember that.
did?
It was in like the advertisements. I totally remember that.
That wasn't a thing. I didn't actually see I might have seen 1 or 2 ads for it, but I got it, I think, a couple years after it came out. But my mom got it as one of our little Christmas vacation movies. So we, every year, will like drive out of town usually for Christmas. And whenever we do a road trip, my mom will buy a bunch of DVDs on discount.
Nice.
And like, so she'll buy like 20. And then like for the first half of the trip, like going, she'll take out like 10 of them and be like, all right, you ready to see your new movies? And she'll like go through them and we'll like,
Oh, that's cute.
we like rate them. It's like a whole thing. And she doesn't open them until we've been on the road for at least an hour. And then coming back, she'll do the other 10. And then we have new movies to watch while we drive.
That's actually, man, clever mom.
Yeah, I know. It's fun. So, I mean, that's just always how that would go. So this was one of our kind of like just out of nowhere movies where she's like, it's a bunch of kids. It's Christmas. Thought it would be fun. And we were like, okay, cool. Watched it. Loved it. I was like, this is great. They were about my age. It was just such like one of those fun things where kids kind of take over and make like their own world, where it's like basically like all these kids are like trying to get home for Christmas, and like the airport gets snowed in and all the kids have to stay basically, and the main character, his little sister, is freaking out because she doesn't think that Santa will know where she is, and they're going to be stuck in the airport on Christmas, and basically she's going to miss Christmas. And like he's older, and all the kids are probably like 13 to 15-ish age range.
Yeah.
And so he's like, hey guys, I know this is super lame, but it's really important to my little sister. And I think I want to say their parents are like divorced, and it's their first like Christmas like that. And he really wants to like preserve like a good Christmas for her. So he's like, can you please just help me like make this a good Christmas for her? So they all go through like all this crazy stuff to just make the Christmas great for his little sister. And it's just, it's so sweet. And it's such a fun ride.
I remember not liking it when I watched it. It kind of ticks most of the boxes that I don't like in films with kids.
Because we have to save Christmas.
It's not the saving Christmas. It was the adults are stupid. I don't know why I like the Home Alone movies, but any other film
because he kind of like finessed it. Like it wasn't just like, oh, adults are bumbling idiots. It was like, these guys are trying to get in, and I have home field advantage because I've already set traps.
That's probably yeah. Anytime kids overpower adults and the adults are stupid, I'm just like, ugh. But I do feel like I could rewatch Unaccompanied Minors and like appreciate it. Now.
I love that movie.
All right, that was your number 6.
That was my number 6.
All right, that was Unaccompanied Minors, 2006, also starring Wilder Valderrama, otherwise known as Fez from That 70s Show.
Right,
Yeah.
He was fun.
Yeah, I know things. My number 6 is the 1994 remake of Miracle on 34th Street. That's right, the remake. The first one doesn't get on this list. And it's not to say the first one's not good or to say this one's better. It's just our family loves Miracle on 34th Street, the
Yeah.
remake. Elizabeth Perkins.
Matilda?
Yes, Matilda.
Matilda.
We got Matilda, Mara Wilson, and Dylan McDermott, who you know from American Horror Story. He was in the first season. What was it
The
called?
dad?
Yeah.
Murder House.
Right.
The black hair, blue eyes.
Yes.
Okay.
And of course Richard Attenborough, Sir Richard Attenborough, who we also know as John Hammond from Jurassic Park, playing literally the most perfect casting of Santa Claus ever.
Yeah.
Like I cannot imagine anyone else playing Santa Claus other than him, and he's perfect in it.
Or Tim Allen.
Only if Tim Allen murders Sir Richard Attenborough. No, I love this movie. I think it was another case too of like someone got us the VHS and we watched it and we loved it. And there's a lot of lines that we quote, and it's not as frequent now, but when we were younger, we used to watch it every Thanksgiving, because it starts in Thanksgiving and ends in Christmas. So we would start it in Thanksgiving
At 11:30 on Thanksgiving.
There's a lot I could say about it. It basically follows the exact same plot as the original. They hire a new Santa Claus for the store to revitalize their sales, and instead of just a regular person, in comes the actual Santa Claus, who for some reason was just wandering around New York without a job to do. And then it's his job. This is one of the few times where I like the idea of saving Christmas. They don't really say it, but it's about like the belief in this gentleman. And the ending's a little bit different as to how they have to essentially prove that Santa Claus is a real person after a rival store decides to try and besmirch his name and say that he's crazy. But it's a really cute, amazing film. One scene in particular I love, and that's when Santa Claus, this mom brings her daughter to see Santa Claus. Now, Mara Wilson's character, she's in the background. She doesn't believe that he exists. She doesn't believe he is the real Santa. She thinks he's crazy. And she oversees him talking to this girl that gets brought to him in line. And it turns out this girl's deaf. And so the mom's just like, you don't have to say anything. She just wants to meet you. But he turns around and then whips out like actual sign language.
Yeah.
And it's so heartwarming. It's like hard. I can't imagine someone watching that scene and being like, this is dumb. It's just so charming. And he's talking to this girl and the girl's face lights up. And of course, it's an actual girl who speaks ASL who probably is deaf.
Mm-hmm.
Because I can't imagine a kid that age being that good
at sign language.
And it's just really charming, and it's of course one of the first little nuggets of like, hey, this might be the real Santa Claus.
Yeah, that's cute.
Matilda.
I like that.
And that always stuck with me. We don't watch. This is one of the few that we don't watch every year, but it's like every other year.
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely a little bit more frequent than anything else that's behind it. So.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. I tried to watch that once when I was a kid and found it incredibly boring and didn't finish it. I'm sure I would enjoy it now.
Right.
But I literally because I was a kid, I loved Matilda, the movie. So I saw that she was in a Christmas movie and I was like, oh, and I went to watch it. And I just remember thinking it was so incredibly slow.
Matilda?
No, the Miracle on 34th Street. Yeah, so I'll try to watch it again. Number 5.
Number 5 for you.
2019's Noel featuring Anna Kendrick, starring Anna Kendrick. I will be watching this every year.
Why? What? I mean, please tell me.
You guys, if you haven't seen this yet, treat yourself.
You guys, if you haven't seen this yet, spare yourself.
That was good. Basically, it's about Anna Kendrick's character, who is the daughter of Santa Claus.
Right.
And her brother is supposed to be the future Santa Claus, but gets stressed out and doesn't want to do it and takes off. And she basically has to go into the real world and bring him back in order to, say it with me, save
I don't want to say it.
Christmas.
I don't want to say that.
But while she's out in the world, she realizes that there's more to Christmas than just presents and saving Christmas.
Does she?
Yes. She
Wow.
realizes that it's really about human connection and stuff like that. So it's great. It's about giving more than receiving. But I just think the way that they approached it, it was obviously, you could see the arc the whole time of where it was supposed to go. But then kind of towards the end, I was a little bit kind of like, okay, that was I didn't see, there's certain little things that I was kind of like, okay, that was not what I completely thought was going to happen. So I enjoyed it. Obviously, I think Anna Kendrick is great. And I think that it was, without her, I don't think it would have been that great of a movie. But she definitely makes it a thing. And I think you definitely need to watch it. And I want to be there to watch you cringe the entire time.
God, it's just, as soon as I saw what the North Pole town looked like, I will say it was clever that they were all on ice skates.
Yeah.
But it just was like, oh God, it's the same Hallmark shit I've seen 100 times.
Yeah, but most Christmas movies are going to be very similar.
I
to each
just
other.
want to see, what did I say the other night? I wish like Guillermo del Toro made a Christmas movie.
He's the one that did Pan's Labyrinth, right?
Yes.
Gross.
That would be, I would love to see how his mind would create like an old folksy, but creepy and like just like cool, North Pole town.
It's just the opposite of Christmas. Like if he made a Christmas movie, it would be like Krampus's Christmas movie,
I love it.
where Krampus has to learn to be Santa because Santa
Because he has to save Christmas.
because Santa got sick and he has to save Christmas.
Sure.
Yeah, no, fun. And there was a couple of points in the movie where I teared up because it was very emotional. There was some great stuff. And to call back to your Miracle on 34th Street, where you're like, I can't imagine anyone scoffing at the scene where the little girl is signing and then he signs back at her.
Right.
Well, obviously, they do a similar scene. And you literally scoffed at that when we were watching it.
Because it was so contrived.
It wasn't, though. It was still fresh in the way that they did it because it was different. It was done differently, and they don't have the rights on Santa speaking sign language to somebody.
It just
because it was done once in a movie.
It was done so
Was it done in the original?
It was done so no, it was not done in the original.
Okay. That's cute. But I will say it was natural. If you were paying attention, you would see kind of the way it went.
I just like being stubborn.
The way it went.
Anyway.
Because she didn't know she could speak sign language at the time.
Let's go on to mine. Let's go on to my next one. Number
Next
5
one.
for me.
Okay.
Home Alone's 1 and 2.
Cute.
They're the same movie.
Yeah. No.
Someone in literally in church today, someone mentioned, they were like, wait, which Home Alone do you guys like
They're the
better?
same.
And I was like, I mean, technically the first one's better in terms of being made, but like when I thought about it, I was like, they're the same movie.
Honestly, growing up, I thought they were the same until I realized that I had to, because I would watch one,
Right.
and I'd be like, well, what happened to the part at the house? And my brother was like, you were watching Home Alone 2, and I was like, what? And he was like,
You know
Home Alone
what?
2 is New York.
You know what?
Yeah.
You're what the French call
Les incompétents. I quoted that all the time as a kid. My dad would actually make me quote that to people because he liked my accent. He's like, say it.
The one that we quote all the time is, all right, au revoir, bring me back something French. Every time someone's leaving town, I'll be like, bring me back something French. And people are like, what?
Or the look what you did, you
You
little jerk.
What you did. The other line I always quote from that film is
That films.
do you ever hear of the South Bend Shovel Slayer? No, that's him.
That's it.
I love it. No, I love those films. My mom is very reluctant to watch those films. She thinks they're super violent,
Well,
and they are.
kind of.
And there's really not much other than it's just they're funny. They're during Christmas. They're clever. My brain just like reeled with imagination after watching that. I thought it
Of
was just
how you could destroy
Oh
adults.
my God, it was so smart. It was, and I think that one, I don't know why. I think you said it though. It was really clever how they went about the whole kid overpowering adults.
Mm-hmm.
I think because when the adults finally did get the upper hand, they were terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
Like when they grab
exactly.
him, when they grab him,
we,
like they're
we immediately know, like, oh, they're not idiots, they're murderers.
it's like they're incompetent not by nature of being adults. They're incompetent because of themselves
Yeah.
or because they underestimate the
kid, exactly.
But when they get the upper hand at the very end and they grab Kevin McAllister and are just like, I'm going to bite off each one of these little hands. I was like, oh my God.
I'm gonna take these little fingers and bite them out.
And it doesn't feel like some Disney character saying that. It feels like, holy shit.
Like, he's actually going to do that, and then they're going to murder me.
And it was like, I don't know why. It makes the suspense of disbelief whenever they're going through the Ringling Brothers Ring of Terror. It's
The
just,
house?
Yeah, the house. My only complaint with the films are, and it's not really a complaint, but it's just like, it takes me forever to draw up one page of something. And I'm supposed to believe that in less than an hour, this kid ran home from the church that he was looking at the old man, like talking with the old man, or from the park when he's talking with the lady. He ran from there, goes to the place, has a little inner monologue for a second, goes inside, finds paper, finds crayons, draws up a plan, goes throughout the entire house, brings together all the materials, then one by one sets everything up in less than an hour. Doubt.
You know what? He's what the French call really very competent. I took French in high school. I should have known how to reconjugate that.
Do you have so
les bons compétents.
So yeah, Home Alone's 1 and 2, and something else I didn't mention. It was written by John Hughes, who made he did The Breakfast Club. He did So and he also wrote and produced Miracle on 34th Street, the remake. So that's why they kind of have a little hint. Anytime you saw something zany and like hijinks and it was like slapstick humor, that was very much a John Hughes thing from the 90s, and I loved it.
That's cute.
So there you go.
Oh, man.
Number 5, Home Alone's 1 and 2.
All right. Number 4. I've actually never watched this as a Christmas movie, and I'm ashamed to say that, but it's one of my favorite movies, and I'm going to start watching it as a Christmas movie now. Gremlins.
I heard you, but I'm trying to explain to me how you in your head say that's a Christmas movie.
Because it is. The entire thing happens during Christmas.
Okay, but you've said before that certain films can't.
But Christmas is the main plot of the movie. Like, literally, it's all about, there's Christmas trees, it's Christmas time. He gets the gremlin as a Christmas present, and then they have to kill the gremlins in time for Christmas. To be Christmas.
I don't know. That seems like that's very...
Well, what's funny is my argument is I don't like when it's like a Christmas, when you're like, oh, Christmas happens in the movie. But if you're like, if it takes place the whole time during Christmas, I'll give you that one. Yeah.
Can I quote you on that?
Quote it.
Okay.
For our debate next week.
Might come sooner than you think.
Will it?
Anyway.
All right. Yeah.
Do you have anything more to say about that?
No, I love that movie. I've watched it a lot. I'm sure I've watched it a few times on Christmas, but when I saw it, I was like, oh, right. Yeah, that totally is a Christmas movie.
We should watch it.
Because I watch it more or less kind of on Halloween / just whenever, just because it is kind of like Nightmare Before Christmas, where it's like, since it's both, it's neither, and you kind of can watch it whenever.
So
Gremlins, fun little twist on a Christmas movie because it's a Christmas horror movie.
Ooh.
It's a Christmas thriller movie or whatever it is.
Okay. Well, my number 4 is nothing like Gremlins at all.
Oh, yeah?
It's 2003's Elf.
Cute.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great movie.
Cool.
Do you want to tell us about it?
No.
All right.
I'm just
so
kidding.
number 3 for me
No.
is going to be...
So back in 2003, my parents went to go see Radio, which starred Cuba Gooding Jr. doing his I'm Trying to Win an Oscar performance.
Mm-hmm, right.
And it was sold out, which is weird to think about. So my dad...
Cuba Gooding Jr. can't sell out an audience.
I remember my parents went out on their date and they came back and I was like, how was the movie? Because I had kind of wanted to see Radio because it was, sold as this uplifting thing. And my dad was like, ugh, we didn't see it. And I was like, what? He was like... We went to the theater. It was sold out. And we ended up, they gave us tickets to see. The only thing that wasn't sold out was this movie called Elf. And I'd kind of heard about it. And I was like, okay. How was it? And I was like, I was thinking that might be good too. And my dad was like, ugh. It just wasn't my humor. I don't like it. And it wasn't. Like it absolutely was not his type of humor. And when I watched it the first time, I remember thinking, oh, that was okay.
Yeah.
Fast forward, I don't know how many years. And this happens with a few movies that I like now. I watched it the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Second time I watched it, holy shit, I was laughing so hard.
Yeah.
It was on TV. Not only was I laughing so hard, but as soon as Zooey Deschanel came onto screen, I was like, oh, hello. Which is funny because now I watch it and I'm like, she's like not my type at all. Like not in that film.
Mm-hmm.
She's not my type at all.
Yeah.
And yet when I was a kid, I was like, tell me Tell me about your ways.
Show me your ways.
Show me your ways.
I love it.
And I
shout out.
I went from like 0 to 100 loving that film. And now we have made our dad begrudgingly love it. We watch it every year. It's something that we we quote a lot. It was directed by Jon Favreau. I just think it's so funny how like my dad hadn't even heard of this film, hated it, and now fast forward 16 years?
Wow.
16 years later, and we love it. Like we absolutely, it's a classic.
It's stuff like that grows on you for sure.
That's insane. 16 years later.
But yeah, it's a fun movie, and it's a fun little one of those ones that's a play on Christmas on what you think it's gonna be.
Yeah, I love the dryness of it. I love the humor. I love I love that they combine the old school like stop motion animation, and and there's something about the whimsy of the town that really works. It really works to contrast whenever he goes to New York. Like I think that's the thing is like because when I watched Noel, for me personally, what I was seeing was a half-ass attempt at what like Elf did so well. And I was trying to pinpoint what it was, but like New York is as aggressive as it can be in a PG film, in Elf, and the Elf town is not only does it do kind of what you expect, but it does it in a different way by showing it kind of like stop motiony and it's just so aggressively cute. Contrast with so aggressively New York, whereas like Noelle just felt like it was like kind of what you've seen before and kind of what you expect real life to be, but really not as intense on either side for the whole.
I'll be watching it every year.
I'm not gonna stop you. But Elf did it really well. That when and of course you have James Caan playing his dad, and is just really an asshole. And there's just so many things that work in that film. Mainly just Will Ferrell's complete like commitment to that character.
Oh yeah,
he's so cute and so endearing
and so large. He's not an elf. Which
you did it. The world's best cup of coffee. But like I said in our last week's episode, as soon as Santa Claus crash lands into Central Park, our family kind of like all just tunes out.
It just starts texting on their phone.
And then we'll come back in towards the end of it.
Millennial families.
I don't know. It just veers so wildly into
away from like what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because at some point it has to get into the moral of the movie, which is like the whole Christmas aspect. And not just his personal journey.
Whatever.
Whatever.
Boring.
Anyways.
What's number 3? What's number 3, my lord?
Number 3, my lord. I am popping out of movies for a second. And I'm going to go to my favorite Christmas episode of my favorite TV show. Glee. Has a Christmas episode. They have a few. But the best one is Glee's previously unaired Christmas episode. And that's the title of the episode because they tried to like post it. They tried to air it and like the network apparently like was like, nah, that's too much. And like stopped it. And then like a year or two later, they like let them release it. Or I think it was the next year they let them release it. And so it was the previously unaired Christmas episode, season 5, episode 8. And honestly, I obviously love the show. I love the characters, but it's just a great episode because it's at the point where all 3 of our favorite characters are all together in New York, like doing their own thing, like trying to make it. And just really, like, honestly, every song in that episode is like one of my favorite songs that they've sang, especially for Christmas. And I have them all on my Christmas playlist. So it's just super, like, just on all levels, it's just super nostalgic and great for me. And I constantly watch it. And then they have like this hot Santa that doesn't wear a shirt the entire show.
Wow.
And he like robs them, and it's a really funny scene. And and I just love it.
Great. I've never heard of that before. But
I know. Surprise. A surprise. It's not.
What a twist.
My top 3 is that one of them isn't even a movie.
Oh my God.
But you guys know that I love music and I love musicals. And so I think my top 3 had to have definitely music in it. So
there you go.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Boom.
All right, my top three. My number three is Last Holiday, 2006, starring Queen Latifah and LL Cool J.
Really?
I love that film.
How interesting.
And our family loves that film.
Mm-hmm.
And even my sister loves that film. And if we see that it's playing, she'll even begrudgingly be like, okay, we're going to watch it. I can't, like, it's just so charming. For those of you who haven't seen it, Queen Latifah's character, she is a one of those, what is that called? Like taste tester chefs? No, she's a sample chef at like a chain store. She's a sample chef at a store, basically there to just like show you how good food you can make with the products that they sell at the store.
Oh, she's
And then-
like one of those people who gives out samples in the store.
But she's really good at her job, and she
Okay.
has dreams of doing more, but doesn't really live her life that much.
Mhm.
You know, she's in love with LL Cool J's character, who's like, he's playing against type, which is great because he's like this big guy. He looks like the type of person who, like, instantly could make anyone fall in love with him, and he's playing like he's playing a dweeb. But she's too shy to tell him that she likes him. But then she gets misdiagnosed with like some incurable like disease, and so she decides to take all of her money and just travel the world and go to, I don't even remember where she goes to, but
somewhere expensive.
Goes somewhere expensive, I think in Germany, and then it just becomes this whole shenanigan of her basically living her best life. Spoiler alert, turns out she's not been diagnosed, but she gets to experience life at the fullest, and it's just, I don't know, it's just so charming. It's cheesy.
It sounds irresponsible.
It's really cheesy. It's like, you know, everything that's going to happen you can see coming from a mile away, but you have LL Cool J and Queen Latifah like guiding you through it. It's one of the most charming films I've ever seen. And there's the actor who plays, so she gets to see her like the chef. So like one of her Chef Didier, he's like a chef she looks up to. He basically plays like the Bam Margera of this world. Bam Margera? Bam.
That's from, what's it called?
That's from Jackass.
Jackass.
I said the wrong thing. But it's Gerard Depardieu plays Chef Didier,
Uh-huh.
and he's like this really famous chef, and he instantly falls in love with her because she's got American gumption. And
Yeah.
stuff, you know, and it's just like
I like women who talk back.
and it's like you roll your eyes, but you go, oh, okay, you're cute, and our family just we love it. We love it, and it's become something that like unwillingly became one of our favorite Christmas movies, and it's because my mom loves it,
Yeah.
and so there's never any
Debate.
debate.
She's like, this one, and you're like,
because we could be
okay.
going back and forth. It's like Home Alone, or what about this? Maybe. But then if any one of us goes Last Holiday, oh yeah. Even my sister will be like, okay, yeah.
I love those movies that it's like for some reason you can just always watch them.
Yeah.
Like I've got a few. Maybe that can be another one we do.
Always.
Is movies you can always watch.
All right, what's your number two?
Number 2 for me, we've already mentioned it, Santa Claus.
Oh, really?
The Santa Claus.
That's your number 2?
That is number 2 because that is a timeless, unstoppable classic. It will never not be the Christmas movie for me.
Really?
Or like one of the top Christmas movies. It was like one that I always grew up with. It was one that my entire family loved. I don't know why, but I've always thought that Tim Allen reminds me of my dad. Like 100%. Like I don't know why. Like, I don't know if it's like his personality or just maybe his humor or the way he delivers like what he says. But like since I was a kid, Tim Allen has always reminded me of my dad. So it was kind of like I could see myself in that world, like
Right.
in that, because it was almost like watching my dad become Santa Claus. So it was very like, I don't know. It was a really cool, and obviously it was like a cool story. It was a completely different take on the story of Santa Claus, and I'm always a big fan, and I think that's why I like cheesy Christmas movies like Noel and stuff like that, where it's like, okay, like obviously you know what's going on, but I love to see people's different like lore and theories on how Santa Claus started and how he continues
Right.
and how his operation runs. And I love any movie that will delve into that because it's obviously there's a bazillion ways that story can go, and everybody has their own little tweak on how it is. and just the freaking Highlander version of Santa that they have. Like, there can only be one.
That's so dark.
I'm just like,
And of course, if you
super
had a Mrs.
interesting.
Claus, as we learned, they have to have.
Like, what happened to her, by the way? Did she just like
Dead.
disappear? She just drops dead.
Bernard didn't give a shit.
Bernard
He was
was
like,
like-
this wheel needs to keep turning.
He said, "You're out, ho. Like, you're out in the cold." That was one that was a constant. It's a classic for me. Like,
That's a
it
good
will-
film.
It's like
Now
the
it
Christmas
explains
movie.
your reaction.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I was like, 8. Okay,
I like it. I like it.
you like it?
Okay. Do I get to go?
Yeah, go ahead.
Number 2 for me. This is actually a classic. I think this is the first real classic on my list. And hey,
I wasn't looking.
it's 1954's White Christmas, starring Bing Crosby, Danny Kaye, and Rosemary Clooney. It's such a okay. And here's the thing. Here's the thing. It has such a tender story to it, and when I rewatch it, I am constantly surprised at kind of the turns that they take in the film for a film at that time. So I don't know if you probably don't like. For you, it's just like this one blob of boring. But the story,
I've seen it. It's fun.
so the story is at the beginning, the lieutenant, actually the general, is basically demoted. So from their battalion in World War II, these guys, they basically have to watch the man they looked up to kind of get like demoted out of the army. And it's kind of sad, but like they pass it off and they end up, Danny Kaye's character and Bing Crosby, they end up becoming this like 2-man show that's like the hit of the entire, all of the Americas. And then one thing leads to another. They end up in Vermont, which must be lovely this time of year. All that snow. It's a line from the movie.
I was.
They end up in Vermont with the Haynes sisters.
Lord help the mister.
That's a fun
that
scene.
comes between me and my sister.
Lord help the sister that comes between me and my man. Oh my God, that's what we should be for Halloween.
I don't.
Is those two guys dressed up in those costumes,
Oh my
happy to do
gosh.
the whole scene.
Cute.
But they end up in Vermont, and it's not snowing, and so they're like, "Oh shoot, vacation ruined." But what should happen? But General Waverly walks in to the inn, and it's so like there's this such endearing moment where these two gentlemen who are like world famous stars immediately like stand to salute their former general. So Dean Jagger, which is the actor who plays the Major General Thomas Waverly, he has this. There's this sadness in his face that is just so like he looks like such a sweet soul, but there's such a disappointment there as in this man who's reached like the pinnacle of his life and he can't get any further past that. And he tries to get a job in the army to reclaim some glory, but they essentially write him off. And our heroes basically decide to throw on a show to bring business to his hotel in Vermont.
Right.
And it's like the type of thing where you think, oh, it's just like a typical old Christmas movie. But there's so many layers to it that really work that are like, when I watch it, I always get teary-eyed at the beginning when they sing about the song, What Do You Do With a General? When he stops being a general. And it's just so like, it's...
No.
And of course, he can't handle it. He's like, he goes up there and basically addresses the folks, not realizing, they didn't realize he was there. And he addresses them basically with like I know what you're trying to do. I'm not going to cry in front of you. I'm not going to say anything, but in the so many words, I'll say I appreciate this. Now, stop looking at me, basically.
Yeah.
And then in the end, they get to do it again, and he has this like he gets teary-eyed, and it's just like that whole storyline is what makes that film for me. Plus, Danny Kaye's hilarious. I will say I tune out every time. There's certain dance numbers that I'm just like.
You're like, oh, it was a different time.
But I do love. There's one my favorite dance number in that is the theater. What has happened to the theater? It's a very modern.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know that one. I literally just know the one song that I was singing. Just because.
Okay, well, but that's a film that our whole family loves.
I was about to say, so is that something y'all watch every year?
Yeah, and because I know it always comes down to people with like It's a Wonderful Life or White Christmas, and for me, I don't know, but White Christmas is just more of a like it's a wholesome film. It doesn't just I have my issues with It's a Wonderful Life. I like it, but it's just like, bro,
Why
you
you
don't
such a dick?
like your life sucks. Like, and stop trying to make me think that your life's better, even though it sucks. Like, I'm not a big fan of films that basically say compromise what you want, your dreams.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then but whatever. That's
Yeah, I've only seen it
That's an issue.
once a long time ago. So, but I agree with that. I would need to think of more examples, but I do
and
essentially concur.
And so, like, to me, It's a Wonderful Life is good, but it's just really depressing.
Mhm.
Whereas, like, White Christmas is always like, it is kind of depressing in certain aspects, but it's really like uplifting, and it's a more enjoyable experience.
So number 1 for me, drum roll please. Home Alone.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm kind of surprised by your list.
Why so?
I was expecting
Like
stupider.
random awful. No, I'm like, no. I have my few that I'm like, okay, these are in here because like I personally enjoy them.
And when you say
for
Home
whatever
Alone, do you mean
reason.
Home Alone's
I mean
1 and
Home
2?
Alone's. Home Alone's. I love that movies.
Oh, I forgot something I also always quote.
What?
Anytime my sister, something bad happens to her, I go, hey, if it makes you feel any better, I forgot my reading glasses.
I was like about to say because I was like when you were saying the things you quote, I was like there was one that you just told me that you quote all the time. Yeah, because when they find out like, oh, I forgot Kevin, and he's like, if it makes you feel better.
I forgot my reading.
I forgot my reading. The jerky uncle who's the worst.
Uncle Frank, is this a joke?
Yeah, no, obviously, I think especially for our generation, Home Alone is Christmas. I don't think that, again, saying for our generation specifically, others probably, but ours definitely. I don't think there's any other movie that you can say is as widely universally Christmas as Home Alone. And that's how I feel. So I'm
not saying you're right, because my list is not representative of what I feel
everybody in general,
or what I feel are better.
Better.
These aren't representative of what I feel are better for, like, in general. It's just me personally.
Yeah. And most of my list is better for me. It's like what I like personally. But the last 2, really, the Santa Claus is more still me. But Home Alone is like, because even in my head personally, it's just is the Christmas movie. Like when somebody says Christmas movie, the first movie that will ever pop into my head, clear into on my deathbed probably, is Home Alone. And I think that's just something that will always be, and that's why that has to be my top. And it's one that when you want to start the Christmas season and you want to say, hey, it's Christmas, put in Home Alone.
Yeah.
Because as soon as that starts, you're like, oh, it's Christmas.
I honestly don't disagree with you. I was surprised that Home Alone didn't end up on my, like,
in your top 5,
like in my top 3, honestly.
Yeah.
But
I just
it was one of those things where just like you said, like you made the argument, what's my personal favorite? But for me, I don't watch Christmas movies on my own.
Yeah.
Like for me, the experience is watching them with people. And when I really thought about it, it was just like I put the list of like what are things that I watch with my family or friends, and in the order that I watch them.
Well, we need to start watching more Christmas movies so that I can start altering your numbers into better things. So definitely Home Alone's. Home Alone.
I really could not. I was like, I thought about it.
No, same. I can't distinguish them now. I can more or less, but I still.
I mean, the first one is clearly better.
Yeah.
But when someone says, "Let's watch Home Alone," I'm basically like,
especially when I think about the actual part of the movie with the traps. Like, if I think of the individual traps, I have to stop and consciously be like, what movie was that in? Because in my head, it was the same movie. Like, I would always watch one and not understand what happened to the other half of the movie. And then, like, the next year, I'd watch another one and be like, but wait, okay, but I feel like last year there was a lady with pigeons. What happened? And then, like, finally I realized there's 2 movies.
There's 2 movies?
2 movies. There's 2 movies. That is Always Sunny in Philadelphia when they were doing their radio show. He had a radio voice.
So we have to make sure
Dennis had a radio voice. Yeah.
Got to make sure we let people know our inside jokes.
Yeah. So.
Are you done yet?
So Home Alone's are my favorite. Is my favorite movies.
Great.
Cool.
Cool.
All
right. Now, cool. Now my number one.
I'm scared.
It's good.
Okay.
Drum roll, please. Number 1 for me not only personally, but also for our
Should I
family.
stop that so you can hear
Yes.
yourself?
Number one for me personally, not only just for my family, is 2006 The Holiday, starring Kate Winslet,
Oh.
Jack Black, Jude Law, Cameron Diaz, and Eli Wallach.
You know what? Now that you said Kate Winslet, I think I did finally see that like 2 years ago.
Did we not force feed you, force that on
I
you?
think you guys finally did. Or I think actually Joel had me watch it.
When I really sat down to think about what my favorite Christmas movie is, and there's clearly movies that I've had for way longer in my life. This is the movie that our family, me, my family, I can't explain it. It's so well done, so well written. I love all the characters. I love Kate Winslet in this. I remember the first time we watched it, and it was it's one that has grown on me every single year to the point now where it is no question. We will watch it, and it is so charming. And if you haven't seen it, basically, Kate Winslet's life is shit. Cameron Diaz's life is shit. Kate Winslet lives in the UK. Cameron Diaz lives in Los Angeles, and they switch houses, and they both go to each other's different house. Cameron Diaz ends up meeting Kate Winslet's brother, who is Jude Law, and so of course she sleeps with him because who wouldn't?
Yeah.
And then Kate Winslet ends up meeting her neighbor, who is Eli Wallach, who's this old school composer. No, sorry, he's an old school writer. Jack Black's the composer. And she has this meet cute with this older gentleman. And it takes everything that you think you've seen before and just gives it this charming little twist. And so Jude Law's character, you think you get to know, you think this is going to be this bachelor who's just doing his own thing. And, Cameron Diaz basically is she resigns herself to, okay, we'll have a cute little fling and that'll be it. Turns out he's got 2 daughters and he's a widower. And these daughters are the cutest fucking thing in the universe. And they have the most adorable slumber party between the 4 of them. And it's just I literally tear up because there's a moment when Cameron Diaz's character finally opens up to Jude Law's character. She mentions that before their parents divorced, they used to call themselves the 3 Musketeers. Then she is sleeping over at Jude Law's house with his 2 daughters. And then he mentions that she's basically trying to figure out, is their mom still alive? Am I having an affair with this guy? And it's no, she passed away. And then he's it's just the 3 of us. And the little girl goes, the 3 Musketeers. And then to comfort her, he immediately grabs Cameron Diaz's hand. And you're just and that's just one of the plot lines.
Yeah.
On the same side of things, Kate Winslet is basically growing in a friendship with Eli Wallach, who just knows, who's a famous. He wrote all of these movies, and then they at the same time are building a relationship with Jack Black's character, and it's just, I just don't know. It's just it's so overwhelming in its cuteness.
Yeah.
And I can't stand it because it's too damn cute. And I feel like I'm smiling every time I'm watching that film. From the beginning to the end, I'm smiling watching it. And I can't think of a better review. I enjoy every single moment of that film. And that would be one that I could watch on my own any time of the year, which might be sacrilege to some people, but I love it.
Well, I guess you really hit most things I was going to say, is because I was okay, it sounds to me like that would be something that you would watch by yourself.
Yes.
But you would.
Yep.
You shouldn't watch it any time of the year.
I
will
absolutely
say.
can.
You should not do that.
I'm going to.
It's wrong.
I will watch it January 1st if I must.
I'll watch it here. I'll watch it there. I'll watch it nearly everywhere. I'll watch it on a plane and I'll watch it on a train. I'll watch it all the way until I go and make a stain. Because you wouldn't go to the bathroom because you're watching it and then you make a stain. I don't know.
Yeah, so
all
that's
right.
my number 1.
Are we going to do
Your
some
number-
honorable mentions? I was that sounds definitely
I have 2 honorable mentions.
I
What
was
do you got?
that definitely sounds like a raving number 1 review, by the way.
What are your honorable mentions, Benjamin?
My honorable mentions are Barbie and the Nutcracker.
Oh my God.
I loved that growing up.
I had to watch that growing up.
I used to play with Barbies. So
I did too.
yeah.
But they were basically stand-ins for G.I. Joes.
Yeah. G.I. Joe is hot, by the way. I had a G.I. Joe and I didn't realize I liked guys at the time, But like I remember seeing that G.I. Joe and I was like, I didn't get that doll. And now looking back, I'm like, you definitely got him because he was attractive. And then honorable mention for sure that actually should have been on the list, but we haven't watched it in forever, so that's why it's not on the list.
Right.
But this is our actual family. Like, if you ask any of my family members what our card-carrying Christmas movie is, Christmas Vacation.
You know what? I know that's a thing
Chevy
for most
Chase,
people.
yeah.
My parents never liked that type of film.
Yeah.
So we never ended up watching it.
I don't blame them, honestly, because, like, I haven't seen it in forever, but, like, they're thinking back, like, how he was, like, constantly, like, fantasizing about, like, this other woman.
Fantasizing about his other woman.
Yeah.
Hated his family.
Yeah, like, I was like,
Family was annoying.
Yeah,
Uncle
I think I was, like, watching it, I didn't really necessarily get what was happening, so it didn't really, like... I was like, whatever, but like kind of like thinking back on it, I was like, wait, wasn't there some girl he was always like thinking about?
Yeah.
And I was like, that's really shitty. Like, but it is like outside of that, honestly, if you could cut literally just that out of it, it is a really fun movie.
There you go.
What are your honorables?
Honorable would be The Grinch.
Oh,
which
right.
I can't believe that didn't end up there. But
Yeah.
when I was a kid, that was my all-time favorite
Mm-hmm.
Christmas movie. The older I get, the less I'm likely to watch it.
Uh-huh.
But I do love Jim Carrey. So.
Funny story about that.
Uh-huh.
The Grinch used to terrify me.
Really?
And my brother. So like before the movie came out. When it was just the ads. Because when we watched the movie, it was like, okay, like you've seen enough of him that he's not creepy.
No, those ads were really creepy.
The ad, he looked terrifying.
Yeah.
And so me and my older brother obviously like shared a room when we were younger. And like we had our two beds next to each other. And every night, right before we would go to sleep, one of us would go, hey, Joey, or like, hey, Benji, the Grinch. And we'd be like, oh, man, no, I can't sleep because he was so creepy.
That's such a random...
But yeah, I can, like, that was a thing.
So
sure.
number 2 honorable mention for me is where you're going to hate me.
Oh, no.
Is 1988's Die Hard. And if you remember your own quote, the entirety of that film takes place Christmas Eve to Christmas Day. So, by your own admission, it is, in fact, a Christmas movie. He comes into town to meet with his wife, estranged wife, for a Christmas Eve party. He says, ho, ho, ho. There is a Santa outfit. Takes place at Christmas.
Is there a Christmas tree?
Yes, there is a Christmas tree somewhere in the background.
I knew I was going to regret that as soon as I said it.
It is a Christmas movie. Okay. Closing thoughts.
We have different taste in Christmas movies.
But certain films can always bring the family together.
Happy Christmas,
I feel
y'all.
like that was a very Animaniacs Wheel of Morality. Wheel of Morality. Turn, turn, turn. Tell us the things that we should learn.
Is that like an actual thing from
Yeah,
that
have you never
show?
watched Animaniacs?
No, I did. I just didn't ever
Yeah.
see the Wheel of Morality.
Wheel of Morality was when they basically pulled a moral out of their ass.
That's really funny. Wait, can we like get like a little mini Wheel of
Like,
Morality?
that would be fun.
So we don't know how to end an episode. We're like, okay, how do we end this one?
Family.
Family.
Okay, so I'll take this one. So be sure to like us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud.
No.
Wherever you listen to your podcasts. Let me do it.
I want to
Let me do it. Seriously, y'all, if you like us and listen to us, share us with a family member, a friend. Let them know that there are 2 really awesome people out there that kind of know their shit about movies.
Exactly.
And reach out to us if you want to be involved. Remember to leave comments. Share, subscribe, definitely leave a review, a rating and a review for us on Apple Podcasts. That's really helps us get heard and seen. Seen is when you make this seem so easy.
I know. I love watching you stumble through this. I'm pretty
Shut
sure
up.
you missed YouTube, by the way.
I was about to say it.
Were you?
Remember to follow us and hit that
Subscribe.
notify button.
Subscribe.
Subscribe to us and notify us about whenever we post the video.
Go ahead and click the subscribe button. Subscribe to us on YouTube and click the bell for notifications on new uploads.
Do the thing when you like
And
us.
yeah.
Yeah. You have anything else to say before we go?
No. Happy Christmas.
Ooh.
Happy Christmas.
That should have been on my pet peeve list. Is when people say Happy Christmas.
That's a regional thing. Not regional because it's not in America.
It's
but
wrong.
It's European.
It's a wrong thing.
Anyways,
I'm Josiah Rizzo.
I'm Benji Jones.
And on Wednesdays,
We wear pink. Was that Die Hard?
no.
Was that what we were?
Oh, wait, let's try that again. I'm Josiah Rizzo.
And I'm Benji Jones.
And on Wednesdays, we wear pink. Motherfucker.
I haven't seen the movie. I wouldn't know where that's going.
I don't. It really wasn't. It was the worst version of that.
We wear pink, pilgrims.
All alone.
Who's with me?
Cute.